People who often like to have hours-long conversations. How do you manage to talk so long without running out of things to say, and doesn't it make you tired to talk for such a long time? With the right person, when you have a connection, sometimes conversation is practically effortless. There is a natural flow to conversation. Especially after you've known the person a while. I am an introvert, so it does usually make me tired to talk for a long time, yes. But there are a few people who have somehow managed to get into my inner introvert circle, and talking to them doesn't tire me. Oh man. Before I moved cities, there was this person I chatted for years online. Well, the week before I moved I had nothing to do, so we talked on the phone. First time. And it was great. Something like 18 hours? I used all the cordless phones in the house. And then dragged the corded phone to my room. Talked about everything, read passages from books we liked and shared thoughts about everything. It was great. And then I moved to new city, new job, had to make new friends, and we lost touch. She came to visit me once like 10 years ago, but I hadn't, so it was a bit awkward. But fun times. Still, my record for longest call. Reach out to them. Rekindle the friendship. Whom just went to check my messages, and the last message I got from her was 2012, and she came to visit in 2008. I really should reach out. Thanks. If you do reach out, you got to tell us how it goes. I am simultaneously judging you for being so nosy and dying for the answer. Do it. Yeah, I once had like an hour, 2 hours conversation with my brother where we were just mainly talking about space and stuff. We also had another about being how the world could be more energy efficient. Well, it depends on the other person. If they give you really short answers and don't engage much, I run out of things to talk about really fast. But if the other person continues the conversation, before we know it, a few hours have passed. It's invigorating, if not dehydrating, to vibe with someone and swap stories and experiences with them for hours on end. Exactly, it takes two. Sometimes you're compatible with someone in that way, sometimes you aren't, sometimes you think you aren't and then end up getting in the groove and talking for hours. My best friend and I talk for about 3 hours a day, sometimes 5 hours, sometimes a few times a day. We never run out of stuff to talk about, we're completely compatible. I know there's no one else I could do that with. I like to go for a walk with my wife. We go for like 5-6 hours and discuss the crap out of everything. With most other people you can't do that, but when you know someone and both of you share this ability to discuss abstract ideas just as focused as tomorrow's lunch, hours just go by. Edit, to make it clear, we don't walk 6 hours every day. But whenever we get a chance to walk for hours, we take a day off, arrange a babysitter and just head out the door. I suppose with my husband it's the same. We are together all day and go everywhere together. We are constantly talking most of it. With some downtime. Yeah, I miss living with my best friend years back. We'd stay up, unintentionally, just drinking beers and talking until 3 in the morning before realizing what time it was. Laughing our asses off until we couldn't breathe, talking about serious stuff, opinions about politics, girls, maybe all in one sitting. If anyone reading has one of these relationships, cherish it. You never know when it'll end. Although we still keep in touch every day, and we haven't drifted apart by any means, definitely not the same if not living in the same area. You sound like my wife and her best friend. They live in different cities and states, so yak on the phone for hours every day because they can't hang out. They shriek with laughter for 90% of the phone call. I have very close friends myself, but those two are on a whole other level. Yeah, and cocaine helps quite a bit as well. Agreed, the two major components are conversational compatibility and general answer length. If someone just isn't vibing with you, it's hard to feel like the conversation is enjoyable or meaningful, and any dialogue will die pretty quickly. If someone's answers are too short, it's difficult to chain them into any larger ideas. Generally speaking, if someone talks for longer, they will usually say something that you can comment or expand upon. Me and the boys talk for like 3 hours on average every night on the phone when we play COD. We really never have nothing to talk about. We even talk about the time we talked about something. I'm generally introverted, but if you get me with the right people, I can easily talk for hours. I'll share a story of the best Valentine's Day I ever had. My plans kind of fell through. My roommates, who were and still are together, didn't have anything planned for Valentine's Day. They have their own thing. So we all ended up getting drunk together. Well, my homie started going on about Warhammer 40k, which I had only a vague knowledge of at the time. He proceeded to spend 3 hours explaining various things to me and looking up stuff. I couldn't help but admire his passion, and I got into the lore myself. But we spent the entire night jumping from conversation to conversation about various genres, until we both passed out on the couch. That was some fun times. Same here. I am definitely introverted, so keeping conversations going is kind of hard for me, but with some people it just works. I couldn't say why exactly, but sometimes I just find the right things to say. I used to be so baffled when I was younger how my mom could invite friends over for a day and all they did was talk. But then, I met with a friend for a hike lately, and we just talked for hours. We went from German articles are kind of weird and all the fruits are female, except for apple, to knowledge of historical wars and what is happening in Israel right now, to should women be more assertive in job applications, to where the hell are we, and then to studying abroad and plans for internships. And believe it or not, I was able to talk for an entire day, and I could have kept going. And I was even enjoying it. People like that are hard to find, in my opinion. I think the people I know that I can do that with, not counting my mom, can be counted on one hand. Sometimes you meet the right person and things just click. It's truly awesome when that happens. So yeah, it takes around 20,000 child sacrifices per day to keep the Space Emperor alive. Anyway, happy Valentine's. Dude, that sounds a really good conversation. I wish I have some to talk about anything. I generally just don't know when to shut the F up. I generally don't know how to get the other person to shut up, or otherwise end the conversation. We'd make a great team. Grimacing face. Boundaries. I have a friend I really enjoy talking to, but anytime we talk it's 1 to 2 hours guaranteed. So I make sure I have absolutely nothing to go to, or I say right at the start of the call, hey, I've got this thing I'm doing at X time, so I'll have to go then. The difference between saying no and having boundaries is awe-inspiring. To the time I had none. I'm generally quite a reserved, laid-back guy, but one of my friends, we will always talk for hours whenever we do. Now we mostly talk while playing PlayStation, because then we both know we have nothing to do and it's still COVID-y, so safer than seeing each other in person. Do you talk about life and SND crap, or just about the game? Because I have no idea how to talk to mates about anything other than the game we are playing RN. I find it always impressive when playing with other friend groups how they can talk about relationships, events and politics while simultaneously getting stomped in CSGO. That's stuff for a lifelong relationship. Or murder-suicide. In any case, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Most people would say that I'm antisocial, but once I feel comfortable talking to someone I can't stop talking. My wife can be like this. I've had long conversations with her when all I am saying is Cocaine is one hell of a drug, granted. I like long conversations because there is so much to talk about in this world. Talk about what you like, dislike, what you're for and what you're against, what you find bland, and what you're passionate about. Talk about how something made you feel, versus something that you learned through adversity, or a failure you made that has given you perspective. It's hard to have long conversations with people who give one-word responses. Me and my ex, we just clicked. We used to have 8-hour video calls daily, just constantly talking. It was honestly amazing. I haven't met anyone like her since. Feels bad. I had the same thing. Thankfully, with years of hard work, we are really good friends now. I firmly believe we have some kind of deep connection, but we're never meant to be together romantically. Kind of same. Used to talk to someone for like 6 to 8 hours every day, but eventually just fell apart. Never met anyone like that either. Kind of sad because I'm an introvert and it's not easy to find people like that who you can talk to endlessly. Feels bad is right, haha. May I ask you why you split up if it's not too personal? Me being stupid. I made a mistake. I'd rather not get too into it here, sorry. Ah yes. Cheeks were clapped that were not his to clap. Nod sympathetically. Just go with the flow. It helps if the other person does the same, of course. Actively listen and respond to what the person is saying. Don't save up things to say and say them when the other person is done talking. This is key. Just go with the flow. A lot of people don't have the flow. Like, almost every conversation seems unnatural and straining. I think you're spot on about the actively listening part though. If you make it your mission to find out what excites the other person, asking questions about their answers, so they tell more and more, that's how you make a conversation go on, and the other person feels truly listened to and appreciated. That's true to a point. But it feels like a one-way conversation if you are asking all the questions. I think you must be able to bring something to table also, a good anecdote or experience relevant to the topic of the conversation. Long conversations don't work like small talk, where you pick a sort of general, safe topic, and both people take short turns swapping personal information and generalities. Long conversations work more like a discussion-based college class. You spend less time talking about yourself and more time talking about how one cartoonist compares to a different cartoonist, or how different fiber arts work, or social norms in Renaissance Venice. Basically, it's more analytical and you're usually learning something. Also, don't just sit still. Go for a walk with the person. Or if you're talking on the phone, do chores while you talk. It helps keep you engaged and alert. I second this about going for a walk, something about the movement, oxygen to the brain and being in nature, if possible, really gets the conversation going. Walking talks are also great for resolving conflict, probably for the same reasons, but also because walking side by side feels less confrontational than facing one another. When my grandmother and I lived on opposite coasts, 2,000 miles apart, I'd go for a walk down to the 711 and back and talk to her the entire time. She'd always joke that I never bought her a coffee. I loved those walks, talking to her while walking under a mile of cherry trees. Springtime was best because of the cherry blossoms. I miss it out there and I miss those conversations. That woman could talk for days about absolutely nothing if you let her. We're in the same county now, 10 miles apart, but my grandfather has late-stage dementia, so she doesn't have the time or energy to talk as often. I also get much more done around the house when I do talk to her laughing out loud. I go off on tangents all over the place, and so do the people I'm talking to. A lot of times it's like, what was I talking about? How did I get on the subject of my mom's car being in the shop? This is with friends and closer acquaintances, not with strangers. I'm a chatterbox, and I know a little bit about a lot of things, so I can always carry a conversation in some topic. It's also a form of socialization. I grew up in a society where talking was the heart of the evening. You don't go to dinner with your friends to have dinner. You go to talk, and the food is there to give you something to do while you converse. It's also quite stimulating and invigorating when you run into someone else who shares similar interests. One of my best friends would spend literally hours, I'm talking 3, with me, just talking about different movies, scenes we enjoyed, shows, stories, etc. For the record, 80% of the time we're literally talking about things we've both seen/read. Yet we can still kill that many hours together talking about them. It reinforces and forges bonds between people. Edit. Thank you, kind internet stranger. I am only capable of holding long conversations. I can't do small talk. On one hand, I am just not interested in small talk, so I try my best to avoid it. On the other hand, if it actually happens, it gets really weird very fast. I have a couple of topics that are very interesting to me and I spent a lot of time thinking about them, so if they come up in a conversation I can easily talk about them for hours and hours. I once had a 16-hour-long conversation with a friend. I was at his place, and we talked for about 9 hours that day until it got late, so I went home and slept, and after I woke up I immediately went to his place again to finish the conversation, talking for another 7 hours. This happened right after we shared a psychedelic experience. Both of us had a lot of mental progress that day. I learned a lot about my personality and behavior, and he ultimately stopped smoking and realized a bunch of other bad habits he worked on quitting. Of course, this is an extreme case, but I would honestly love to do that with more people. I don't force anything. If they don't want to talk, then it's alright. There is no such thing as awkward silence. It's only awkward if you make it awkward. And then when I find someone whose hobbies are the same as mine, the conversation is just smooth. Ad. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.